I know you're tired. I know you're hurting. And I wish I could say something that was classy and inspirational.
You can do it!
But that just wouldn't be our style.
Welcome to Project Reclamation, where you rebuild, re-energize, and reclaim your life. I am recording.
So am I.
So MJ.
So what's up, JB?
Howdy there, friendos.
So Steve's got a lot going on, man. I applaud the dude for everything
Steve's
he's going
plate
through.
is overflowing.
Dude, I have a full-time job, and that is enough for me. Steve's got a full-time job and full-time school, and that's a lot.
Oh yeah,
I commend him for that.
So
Steve
he likes it, but his time
Steve has not
commitments.
left us. Steve is still part of this podcast. He's a load-bearing leg of the tripod. However, we do have some peripheral members. So today we have another peripheral member joining us. Sitting in, we have my little sister, Shannon Frick.
Shannon Frick.
Welcome.
hello.
I was
Hello,
thinking
sister.
of all the podcast hosts we've had on, and I was like, you know what? Obviously I'm biased. I love my sister, but I was like, I really like Shannon on because you know what? She knows JB and I well enough to swim in the mud with us. And she knows enough about us to make fun of us and talk shit to us. But then I feel like she brings our level of class up a notch or two, which I think is probably
notches.
a good thing. Like she's not afraid to swim in the Tijuana slough with us, but then she's also like eager to get out sooner than we would normally get out to bring us to like normal land.
Well,
There's no way I can drag both of you out of water.
Yeah, she brought the disinfecting wipes and
Right,
and such.
exactly, which we never would have thought of.
Yeah.
And, maybe there's some men and or women out there who appreciate having a woman's voice on this podcast. So
A woman's voice.
And what
Shannon,
a lovely voice
you
it
do
is.
you do have a great podcast voice.
Why,
great
thank
general
you.
voice, I guess.
Why, thank you so much. I think
Shannon,
I sounded
Shannon
like
does a lot of
man.
voice acting. So any of y'all who are looking for a female voice actor with a very pleasant, very capable voice, you can hire Shannon at some website. Do you have a website?
No.
www.shannonfrickvoice.com.
Look her up on
I mean,
You know what?
I have ShannonMurrayVocals.com.
Do you use it though?
No, because not a lot of people are going to your website.
If you would like to
You put your
contact
demo
Shannon
up
to
on
hire her for a
other
job,
sites for them.
then you can email us at projectxreclamation@gmail.com.
Good.
Subject, Shannon Frick vocal talent or something. I don't know. You know
Shannon
what?
Marie
Send me an
vocals.
email. I'll read it and it'll get to the right place. Because that's how we operate here at Project Reclamation. So, JB, we were just having a conversation about a team meeting that I and Shannon was like, where'd you take your team? They all came into town, took him out to dinner. And
Hey, Tim, would this be the A team?
The A-Team, yes. This is
Got
the
it.
A-Team.
Okay,
and not
proceed.
because we're so alpha or so awesome, but because if you remember the show, I don't know about the movie, but the show with, what's his name? Papard, George Papard. And by the way, dude, the guy that played the pretty boy, what's his name? Face? He has one of the coolest names, Dirk Benedict. Like, his real name is cooler than his character name. But yeah, so the show, they are a hot mess who have no plan. They're a total mess. And then, you know what? They still deliver, and they do it entertainingly. And I feel like that's kind of how my team works, because we're very unorthodox. We are very not by the book, but we get shit done. So I nicknamed my team the A-Team. Anyways, I think the A-Team's a fantastic show. If you haven't seen it in 20 years, go back and watch it. It's great.
Well, it's been more than that. It's probably, 30 at least.
It was the 80s? Yeah, no, you're right, dude, because it was like 80s, 85 or 80, whatever. It was in the 80s, the mid-80s. So yeah, you're right, 30 years. Fuck, dude. The A-Team is about as old as Shannon.
Oh.
Oh.
Aww.
So yeah. So anyway, the A-Team. So I took him out to dinner. I took him out to Hodads. Hodads is a San Diego staple
delicious
joint.
burgers.
I took him to the downtown one, JB, the same one that you and I and Steve went to last time that you were in town that we went there, and it was fantastic. That place is amazing.
Good.
And they have I was commenting on how I guess Guy Fieri and the owner were pretty good friends, and Guy Fieri raves about that place.
Uh-huh.
He has his own burger there.
Drive-ins and dives.
He has his own burger there.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
No.
Oh, one of my guys got it. It's it's called the Guido Burger.
Oh, I didn't know that was his.
It's a so that's his. If you read the little fine print,
Now I want a bacon cheeseburger.
I do too.
That's not on the
Amazing.
diet.
No, it's not. What diet are you on?
not getting chubbier before my wedding.
Oh,
I've heard that's a really good diet, actually.
I mean, I'd like to get smaller, but definitely not getting chubbier.
you should do keto.
I don't know. That's a lot of commitment.
Shannon.
I mean, I'm
I love
committed to
Brett.
eating healthy, but I don't.
I love Brett, but let's be honest. If Brett can do it, you can do it.
True.
Yeah.
And
Pipe
Brett,
down, Chachi.
Brett has been very successful. He's lost a lot of weight using keto, and I think, admittedly, Brett would say he's not a person with the willpower to an easy diet, but he found a diet that's easy for him, and I think that
includes
I think
bacon.
we have so much bacon. I think that's the thing. Just a diet that's easy for you.
Yeah. I think I would keep.
Maybe it's keto, maybe it's not.
I would
you know what I
limit
will
the
say?
saturated fat, though.
There's nothing wrong with saturated fats.
There really isn't anything wrong with saturated fats.
I don't know. We're not getting into this.
No, we're really not.
That's not what this is about.
But you know what I will say, dude? So I had done Bulletproof Coffee back in the day. Mom and Dad still do it. Mm-hmm. I hadn't done it in a while, but then on Tuesday night when we were at dinner at Hodads, Jeremy's from one of the guys on my team, and he's been doing keto, and he's lost like 30, 40 pounds. He's lost quite a bit of pounds. He's lost a lot of weight, and it's been really good for him. He was a safety at Cal. He went on a football scholarship. Good dude. Mm-hmm. And then, now he's in his late 30s with 2 kids and a family and a job and stuff. So it's all the whole, so we should have him on sometime. He listens to the cast. So Jeremy, what's up? Shout out to you. But he was talking about Bulletproof Coffee. And I was like, I haven't done that in a while. So I had coconut oil. There's a bunch of different ways. Like he was talking about, I put like this and that. And
can't you put like grass-fed butter or ghee
so
or
the original
oil or whatever.
The original Bulletproof Coffee was literally 2 tablespoons of grass-fed butter in coffee. And that's it. Like that was a Navy SEAL trick. And that's because they were probably in some fucked up place in the world where they didn't have access to anything else, but they happened to have grass-fed butter and coffee. Yeah. They also did not have, I'm guessing they didn't have a lot of food. So they needed the calories.
I bet they went and milked a cow and made their own
They might
grass-fed
have.
butter.
They might have made the butter the night
you had
before.
to get it pretty early.
But either way,
I
I think the original Bulletproof Coffee, because it comes from a Navy SEAL thing. Mm-hmm. So these guys, I think a lot of it came from necessity more than just health.
Yeah, you need the calories in the morning.
Because you need the calories, it keeps you satiated, it keeps your brain functioning, blah, 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 blah. So anyways, I hadn't done it in a while, but for anyone who knows me, like I have a super high tolerance for caffeine and just like any uppers in general. Like I can drink, I can drink a couple of 5-hour energies and then fall asleep. Like I just
same here.
For some reason, like I can drink a cup or 2 or 10 or a pot of coffee and barely feel anything. So I was like, oh, you know what? Bulletproof Coffee. I'm gonna try that again. Mm-hmm. Okay, so Wednesday morning, right before our team meeting where I had to lead my sessions and whatever, Bulletproof. So butter was the original one. Jeremy does like MCT oil and grass-fed butter and something else. So like 5 different things. I'm like, you know what? When we last left our hero, being Bulletproof Coffee, what I was doing was half coconut oil and half grass-fed butter.
Okay.
So that's, I think, the simple way to do it. I think that's what mom and dad do. So
I forget. Do you blend it?
You
or
have
do you just
to.
mix it in?
You can mix it in, but then like things
it separates.
It separates.
You're going to want to blend it.
You have to blend it. So I went very unorthodox, and for those of you who are like purist Bulletproof Coffees, I'm gonna get angry emails. You're gonna hate me for this. I did a tablespoon of coconut oil, a tablespoon of grass-fed butter, and then I threw in a scoop of protein powder because I was pretty sure I wasn't gonna eat anything until like lunch. Shannon, you're making a funny face. Mm-hmm. I did have cappuccino flavored protein powder.
Okay.
I was gonna say that's kind of just like a weak protein shake with coffee in it.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. But here's the thing. It was literally like cafe cappuccino flavored protein powder. So it only kind of added a little bit to the flavor. Because if it had been chocolate or vanilla, it would have been like a weak chocolate or weak vanilla. But since it was just like a coffee flavor, it just it all kind of blended in. It wasn't a big deal. Whatever. So me being super high tolerance, I had a cup of coffee on my way to work. By the time I got to the to the office and was doing presentation, like I was fucking lit up like a Christmas tree. I felt like I was almost too high on caffeine. So now caffeine is definitely not fat soluble from my knowledge. It's water soluble, but there's something about the interaction or the way your body processes it. I really don't know, but it's very much, I don't know. It makes a huge difference though. So for anyone who can weigh in on this, let me know. You can email us at projectxreclamation@gmail.com.
I feel like, people who do intermittent fasting, they say that, they'll drink coffee because you basically don't eat anything until like 1 or
Yeah.
11, between 11 and 1 in the afternoon.
Sure.
But you
fiancé
can
does
you
that.
can drink coffee. You can take like a spoonful of coconut oil,
Right.
kind of stuff. So I think it's kind of like you're just putting that all into one thing.
Yeah, but I just don't think like I could be doing intermittent fasting and a cup of coffee without coconut oil and butter in it would not affect me. But for some reason you put those two things in it and I'm like, whoa, hey. And
It
it's
like,
like fucking,
it like opens up your caffeine receptors.
maybe. I don't know. It's like it's like fucking gummy berry juice from the Gummy Bears. Remember that show?
Yes.
Yeah.
Go gummy bear juice. Wait,
Yep.
that's not even. Yeah, has nothing to do.
For those of you who don't know, there was a show in the 80s, maybe 90s, I don't
gummy
really know.
bears.
There you go.
I think it was
Something,
80s.
something
I was
about
born then.
everywhere. I want the gummy bears.
It was basically just like crack juice that they were drinking, or it was like Monster. It was like who knows? They would like drink this juice and they would bounce all around and fly around. Anyway. So yeah, Bulletproof Coffee, good stuff. Hodads,
I think I want to
burgers.
try and make some of that tomorrow. I don't have any
go
grass-fed beef,
Do
but
it.
or grass-fed butter.
Grass-fed beef. Don't put that in your coffee.
Dude, that would be
I don't-
awesome.
I mean, I know like
Blend
in
that.
the long run for like whatever purposes, I don't know. Kerrygold grass-fed butter is apparently the gold standard.
Kerrygold's
If you just had regular butter, I don't know that would make a huge difference. Or
I don't,
put two.
As long as it's real butter.
that was going to be my next question. Is like, why does it have to be grass-fed? Just for the pure like
I think
purity
it's
of it,
just
or-
more purity, yeah.
Um,
Because
What if-
if you
what if
really,
it
if
was
you read
just
the book of the
coconut
guy,
oil?
that's fine
think
too.
that's fine.
You can do either. You could do 2 tablespoons of butter or 2 tablespoons of coconut oil. Well, and if you really, really adhere to the whole thing, he has this whole thing that a lot of like processed, less quality coffee beans will have. They have like low grade mold that you don't know about. So you need to get like this. You need to get this high grade coffee, or hey, you can buy my coffee at blah blah blah.com. So
yeah, and pay like
I mean,
$14 a pound for it.
Yeah.
at maybe more. I don't know. All I'm saying is, if you just do coconut oil, butter, and coffee, it'll probably work. Just make sure you don't use salted butter, because I did that once. Not
Oh,
bueno.
yeah, salty
Interesting
coffee.
fact talking about grass-fed beef and butter.
Yes.
I met a cattle farmer the other day, and I learned that I was like, so what do you call it when you send them off to become meat?
Slaughter.
And I learned that it's called harvesting, or that they go somewhere, in quotes.
That
They go to
sounds,
the
But
that
harvesting.
sounds like the snowflake
farm?
version. Like I need a safe room version of the whole thing. Like
No, she said that's like
it's
the industry
slaughtering.
term, harvesting. They're harvested.
That's
Well,
like
I mean-
the Charlotte's Web version. Like,
Well, I'm happy she gave me that
this cow-
version.
This cow went and got harvested
Because I love cows.
Well, but I mean, if you're literally a cow farmer,
Yeah.
and you raise cows to be slaughtered,
They are
I
harvesting
mean,
them.
is that a whole lot different than someone who harvests corn or something else?
They
I mean,
do that as well.
I don't know if it's necessarily like it's not necessarily callous or shallow. It is what it is.
No, it is. It is. I mean, it's.
I think
you
he's saying
are
it's the
harvesting
opposite.
in the you
Yeah.
know the base sense of the word.
No, it was cool. She was like, honestly, my husband can identify every single one of our 400 ladies out there.
That's awesome.
She calls them his other
Wow.
women. Yeah, they do cattle farming,
Well, and that's not-
soybeans, and corn.
That's so interesting.
And she teaches at South Dakota State University for
Who's this
new
person?
cattle farmers. She was at my certification with me the other day, and she they have a cattle farmer program that teaches them kind of the business of being a cattle farmer, and they call it Moo U.
That's almost like your company, JB.
It is. I work for a company called, and they do
Moo
something called
TV.
Moo You too.
Nice.
That's crazy.
I love it.
Hey, dude? Okay, so I forgot to ask you this. I saw. Maybe was I at the Padre game? I was somewhere that it was not like music related. Did you guys do any other sort of video work?
Yeah,
Or is
I
it
mean,
all-
they? I mean, they'll do any sort of video reinforcement.
Okay.
So who knows? I mean, maybe it was. Maybe they.
I don't remember where it was, but I know it was definitely not like music related. And I was pretty sure it had to be the same thing because it was some sort of video something. But
Yeah, I mean, they do corporate. They do.
Okay,
They do all kinds
you know
of
what?
stuff,
It might
so
maybe it was something more corporate. I'm not sure.
it could very well have been.
Wait, is that the company you're contracting now?
Let's
Yeah,
suspect
that's
somebody
what I-
he works for.
Or
That's what I
contracting
work
with
for, yeah.
now? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Contract with, or does he work for them and they contract him out to?
I don't know. You tell us.
JB, you want to explain that?
Yeah, well, I mean, artists.
Do they 1099 you?
No, I'm
Question is 1099 or W2?
I'm W-2'd through the company,
Nice.
but most artists have an LLC that they use, and then they that they operate underneath, and then they have like a base core group of people, and then they usually farm out the services such as audio, video, lighting to different vendors.
Cool.
And the vendors will bid tours at the beginning of the season, and usually the artists will take the not the cheapest, but the one that's going to get you the most valuable.
Yes.
Bo show.
That's awesome.
So what's new, Shannon?
I don't know. I'm tired.
Me too.
Usually I'm like, I'm not one of those like, oh, thank God it's Friday people. But today I'm like, thank God it's Friday. I'm ready to sleep.
Have you been burning both ends of the candle?
I don't feel that I have, but I feel like I
How does the wedding planning going?
It's good. It's
For
good.
For those of you who don't know, Shannon is getting married in what, April?
I'm getting married. April 27th.
Married.
Yeah. 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 So, I mean, it's going really well.
Married.
Getting all our stuff together, figuring out what we want it to look like. And
Nice.
yeah, no, it's going really
By
well.
the way, marriage, that reminds me of something. JB, I have to commend you and thank you because I've been to a few weddings and I've been involved in the whatever parties, bridal parties.
Bridal, yeah.
Yeah.
A few different weddings.
Yeah.
And you and KB kept everything so simple. Like you were like, hey, guys, wear a black suit with a white shirt and we'll give you a tie. And you know what? It all looked great. We weren't perfectly matched. But then I went to another buddy's and it was like, oh, go to Men's Warehouse and rent this thing. I paid $350 to rent this suit that was all like fancy, whatever. It didn't really fit right. It was awful and blah, blah, blah. So thank you for making things simple. And like, I think the girls, like they didn't match perfectly, but they matched.
No, they were in black
just
dresses
perfect
and
enough.
red shoes.
Right. Black, but when you look at the pictures, everything looks good. It looks great.
We weren't
and
going
also,
for like GQ magazine.
I was talking to my mom about different like, oh, this wedding, that wedding. And I was like, you know what? Honestly, I've been to a lot of weddings and the one that I remember that I have only like awesome memories of was JB's wedding.
Yours was super
I don't know
fun.
I don't know if it's that you and your wife planned it with your like friends in mind. Like, okay, the wedding part's for us, but like the reception's kind of a party for our friends. We want everyone to have fun. Or I don't know exactly what you guys had in mind when you planned it. But whatever you
have
did,
any
you
sense
guys
in your head, you realize
guys
that the wedding is
frickin'
for
nailed it.
the guests. And thank
you guys
for
nailed
that.
it because it was fun. It was beautiful. It was a party, but it was all in your honor. I don't know, dude. Everything about your wedding was fucking perfect.
And it was super
Sweet.
easy because the wedding and the ceremony were in the same spot.
Oh, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
You guys made it simple for everybody
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like so many weddings, they the people who plan it, and God bless all of you, but they make it so difficult
Too
for whatever
complicated.
reason. Too complicated. Go here, go there, because these places are so cool. But you know what? There's something beautiful in simplicity. Anybody who's ever read an Ernest Hemingway book or read a Winston Churchill quote, those two are guys who preached simplicity being the key to everything successful. And I mean, you guys just kept it simple. I mean, just from everything down to Tim and whatever, all your other groomsmen, just wear a black suit and a white shirt. We'll take care of the rest. And it was like, all right, sweet.
Yeah, we were at Balboa Park the other day and we thought like, God, it's so beautiful here. Like maybe we should have looked into getting married here. And then we saw people, there were 4 weddings that we saw in a matter of like 20 minutes. First of all, I was like, oh, okay, I don't really want to be one of 4. And there were people walking around just wandering, looking for the wedding and where it was located. And I was like,
'cause that's a
okay,
big
thank
place.
God we're not here.
Balboa Park is huge.
It's massive. And if you're not from here, it's really confusing. So
and parking sucks.
we were happy. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
I think I commend you, Shannon, for thinking about those kind of things because JB
Yeah.
did, and you have seen the results. Like you had a good time at JB's wedding, right?
I had an amazing time.
By the way, I was looking at some of the pictures of JB's wedding. Tim was super fat, but you looked very pretty.
I think
Shannon.
that was one of your biggest.
Well-
I think that was actually one of my smallest.
Tim,
Yeah,
you're
you look
not
very pretty.
You're not fat anymore. So
Nope.
You know what's funny though? I was still pretty good looking when I was fat.
yeah, dude.
Not that it mattered because I was funny.
You were.
Unfortunately,
you are.
I apologize to women, but honestly, if you're a guy and if you're funny, that's kind of good enough.
Yeah. Moving
Sorry,
on.
I don't
No,
know.
I'm just kidding.
But yes,
Double standard.
It's so I know, totally.
Dude, I have zero type. I think you can all agree with that.
Yeah.
Mine are all over the map. But yes, yeah, I was fat as shit at your wedding, dude. But whatever.
Hey, you had fun.
I did.
And you were there for your best friend.
I was
you know
pretty
what,
chubby
though?
at my wedding too, which sucked. But
You were, and you were super sweaty when you were singing that song on stage. And you had already taken off half your clothes.
Cute.
yeah,
You fucking nailed that song, though.
I was
For those
so
of you who
happy
don't
when I
know,
got to
JB is
untuck
a
my shirt.
fantastic guitar player and an awesome singer. And JB, if you know, I mean, he's done this a few times. Like, he's a good performer. For those of you who've seen it on Facebook, apparently that's a pretty good performance.
Apparently.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, why not?
Apparently,
You're on Facebook.
I have a Facebook.
Yeah.
I haven't been on it since before JB posted that.
Oh. You should be on it for this.
I should. You're absolutely right.
yeah, we're still working out this whole social media.
Here's the thing.
thing.
So when we launched
That's okay.
this podcast, now I'll be honest, the marketing arm and the PR arm of this. Now Steve, once we started getting listeners and Steve started seeing that, Steve changed his tune completely, and he's now very interested in the operations of the podcast. However, at the beginning, and it's fine, we didn't force Steve to, and he didn't want to, but now he is. However, at the beginning, JB and I decided, because we went back and forth on a lot of different things. We decided, you know what? We're going to do zero. Like, we'll tell a few people. We'll mention here and there very vaguely on social media, but that's it. But ultimately, we want to see where this thing goes and how it grows organically without any marketing, even to our friends, really. So that's where we've been going with this for now 30 episodes.
What?
And it has grown considerably.
It's been like a half year soft opening kind of thing.
It's been a total soft opening. So very cool.
Well
and
done.
I think we're to the point now where people like what we're putting out, and we have proof of that. So now I think we're in a point where very slowly we'll probably start putting some things out there.
You could start saying whatever you want now.
No.
Just kidding. No one wants to hear that.
No. Speaking of saying whatever you want, yeah, that Sofa King meetup is tomorrow. So I think I'm going to go.
Are you going? You should go.
I'm going to go regardless.
Where
and
is
if
it?
I go
You should,
alone,
I really want you to print out a picture of my face, put it on cardboard, and take it up there and take pictures
Oh my God,
of people.
can you please?
I can totally do that. I just need to go buy some printer cartridges because I'm
Go to Staple or go to like FedEx, whatever, and just print it off there.
I
Yeah,
can totally do that.
it's like $1.
So
Where is it?
Anaheim,
Oh, cool.
House of Blues in Anaheim.
Oh,
So I was
downtown.
talking to Jeremy
That's in
and-
downtown Disney.
I don't think Jeremy's actually listened to Sofa King. Maybe he has, maybe he hasn't. I'm not sure. But when I was telling him about it, I wasn't even asking him to go. But he's like, "Dude, Tim, Anaheim's not far from me." Like, he's like, if it doesn't coincide with my kid's football game, I'll go with you. So
Cool.
I need to figure out when it is. I think his kid's football game is like 5, which I somehow I'm thinking it might be 5, but whatever.
Hmm.
Well,
figure
but
it
the
out.
meetups from
If
like 3 to 5, right?
Oh, it's 3 to 5. Oh, then Jeremy could totally come for the first part.
Depending on how far away it is.
Well,
Far. Anaheim,
and
it's like 20
honestly, I think
minutes.
3 to 5 is the main like official meetup, but then they're saying
Right.
like, hang out afterwards, obviously.
Sure.
Are
They're
they
not
going
gonna
to be
kick
there?
everybody out and be like,
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah.
you got to fly home.
Yeah, they're going to be
cool.
there. And I mean, especially because, they know us kind of. I mean, we have communicated via social media. So yeah, I'm probably going to go to that. Should be fun.
That's cool.
But I was listening to like their episode, like it was like in the low hundreds. And I feel like they were still kind of like, guys, thank you so much for listening, blah, blah, blah. So now we're at like, they're like 3, like very low 300s. And now it's like, fuck you, what do they call them? What do they call their listeners? Fuckface peasants.
Oh, God.
No. Those are the ones who aren't their Patreon members. It's a thing, though. It's a
got
very
it.
thing. Like Brad is a kind of angry but funny and lovable, kind of like lovably angry person.
Okay.
That's him and his persona. So he gets away with, like, when Brent gave us a shout out, Brad's response was, Project Reclamation, fuck him. And because I know his personality from the podcast, that made me laugh.
Yeah.
I loved it. So it is what it is.
That was a
But when
term
you
of endearment.
When you go back to in the low hundreds and probably before that, they were still probably somewhere around a year-ish. And it was like, well, no, I guess that was 52 weeks in a year. They do 2 episodes a week. So yeah, that was right around a year mark for them. And they were still thanking people for listening.
I forget. When did you put out your first episode?
I have no
Around
idea.
December?
Apparently 30 weeks ago. No, it must have been January. Late January, early February.
Okay.
So 26 would have been the 6-month mark. So 26 was 4 weeks ago. So that was July, mid-July. So it must have been like mid-January. Wait, no.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was,
Mid-February?
we started,
No,
the,
we're 6. That'd be
You're right,
January.
mid-January.
I thought we started like right at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
We did, because I think we started recording in either early January or late December. And then I think we recorded, I think we had like 8 episodes recorded before we released our first one.
Yeah, that's right.
We used to keep a bank. Now we don't anymore. Like, we're recording this on, what day is it? Friday. And this is, you guys are listening to this
Friday,
on Monday.
August 17th.
If you're not listening to this on Monday, it came out on Monday and you just didn't listen to it when it came out. But yeah, so we used to have a nice bank of episodes where we're like, hey, you might be listening to this 4 weeks from when we're recording. But now it's like, hey, you're going to listen to this less than a week from when I'm talking, because that's just how we do it now that Tim and JB have jobs again.
Well, the
What?
fact that we've been this consistent pretty much blows my mind. Honestly,
Kind of shocking. But
Because-
it's amazing.
a couple things, because I think this is something that you and I think there's times when we've both had to kind of kick each other in the ass. Not a lot, but a little. But we're usually on the same page with that, because we have people who listen to us and who like listening to us. I feel that if someone enjoys listening to the bullshit that we produce, I owe it to them. I owe it to Coleman and Sienna and
Mom.
Drew and Brian and all of those people whose names I don't know. We owe it to you to release an episode, and an episode with as little garbage content. I mean, unless you love the garbage content, but we owe it to
Isn't
you
that
to
what bonus
produce
episodes
the
are
best
for?
product that we possibly can at least once a week. And I try, and I haven't been doing it lately, but I try to find audio that I have in the vault to release more than once a week for those of you who want that and who like that. So I think that I'm impressed, but I think at the same time, if you listen to our gratitude episode and just, I think our take on things, I don't, maybe we'll get to the point where, whatever, Sofa King, they no longer thank their fans, but they appreciate their fans and their fans know that. And it's like, we are not, this podcast is jack shit without our fans. And the fact that people enjoy spending their time listening to us talk about shit, it's very cool, and I'm honored, and because of that, I will do whatever the fuck it takes to produce at least one episode a week for you guys. And that's why if Steve, is it can't be with us, it's going to be just JB and I. And if there's somebody that we can bring on, like Brett or Shannon, who can bring some value to an episode here and there, hell yeah, we'll bring that.
The tripod isn't just the three of us.
The tripod is just the load bearing part, but we have all these other pods.
It's a state of mind.
Yeah.
It's whoever you lean on, and we lean on. I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah. It's like the Beach
Absolutely.
Boys.
Yeah.
The Beach Boys are the Beach Boys, and John Stamos is a Beach Boy now, and has been a Beach Boy since the early '90s.
I'm
Ladies.
really lost.
He was in the Beach Boys band?
Like Uncle Jesse?
Yeah. Did you guys?
What?
What? How have you
No.
guys not known this? This is like
I don't
it's
know.
literally like 30 years ago. He's been in the Beach Boys.
I had no idea, dude.
How?
Yeah.
Like in what capacity?
Like a percussionist. I don't know. I think he plays drums, percussion. Who knows?
Huh. Fascinating.
I think when I was a kid, I used to play with the son of one of the Beach Boys, whichever one lives in Santa Barbara.
Brian Wilson?
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't fucking know.
Brian Wilson.
He was the one that's like,
Bermuda.
pretty. He was like the genius behind it, but slightly overtaken by LSD, and has like a handler now.
Interesting.
Oh.
Yeah.
Based on their music, I would have guessed a lot of marijuana, not necessarily LSD.
No, I think this was. I mean, they've been around
Think of the time,
late
60s,
50s.
Their
Their music isn't super psychedelic. It's more just like,
but
beachy,
it did
surfy,
get psychedelic. They went through like Dewey Cox. That whole satire, that was all kind of Brian Wilson based.
Dewey Cox was that movie with the what's his name, right?
Yeah. So yeah, moving on.
What's his name?
The curly-headed dude from John C. Reilly.
There you go, John C. Reilly. I have a towel with John C. Reilly on it. It's really creepy.
It is pretty creepy. Do you like dry your balls? Sorry,
Ew.
Shannon.
I don't
No.
wanna hear
I
that.
use it as a last resort when I have guests that need a towel. I don't ever use it.
And
I
then it
don't really
creeps
want-
them out and they leave and
I
that's
don't
what he
want John
wants.
C. Reilly to touch my body. It's creepy.
Yeah.
Although he's really funny. I do like him.
He's
but
funny.
he's like awkwardly funny. Good times. So like, yeah, the Beach Boys, like that, I feel like 30, 40, 50 years ago? That was a long time ago. Like, is their shit still relevant?
They have their own Sirius channel.
Like, JB, is something from 50 years ago really relevant?
Dude,
Heck yeah.
I mean, the Beach Boys still tour and sell out like arenas. So
Okay, but for sure, there's nothing that's like older than 50 years that's actually relevant, right?
well, you know,
Nothing.
I mean, well, okay. So we have, as a nation, been pitched in battles for many years. You could almost say like forever wars. And having to this is a terrible segue. I'm sorry.
No, it's awesome. So, anyways, guys, I was really trying, but it was a stretch. So our topic.
I thought maybe
today-
you had something planned. I was going to let you go.
No, we
with
never
it.
plan anything.
No, we shoot
We don't
straight
plan.
from
We
the
don't
hip.
script. Everything is straight from the hip.
Which is something
Now-
that our current subject and show topic today would never do. You
But
would never
but
hear,
hold on. We
No.
did the Sofa King homage to Sofa King in that the three of us researched the topic, which is new. That is very different. The last time we did any research was the Keanu Reeves episode.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm fairly certain I did my research by watching a YouTube video and spending 12 minutes on Google. However, this episode we did actually do some research, and
Yeah.
JB and I had what was supposed to be a 10-minute conversation last night. I was tired as hell from 2 really long days at a work meeting. JB was tired. We threw some tequila into the mix, and we ended up having a 2.5-hour conversation. And I'll be honest, I recorded it, so I need to listen to it, but I have no freaking clue what we talked about. However, we did decide that one thing we'd like to do is take texts, speeches, and people who are motivational in one way or another, and basically give you guys the cliff notes in what we think and how we think those people or speeches or texts are motivational and how they succeed in motivation and where they maybe fail. So let's say we got a guy and we're like, hey, if you need work motivation or grind motivation or workout motivation, this guy's great. But as far as like work-life balance motivation, maybe go try this guy or that guy. So that's kind of just a little teaser. We're not going to change everything completely, but that is a direction that we're going to start probably going in. So, So today we have a text that happens to be, this was what I was trying to get at, but it was very kind of weak and whatever. A text about war from a gentleman named Sun Tzu, who may or may not have been a real
Sun Tzu.
person. And we'll cover that in a second. But the text is from about 500 BC. So we're looking at some writing and some stratagem that is about 2,500 years old.
You mean like
That
BC,
I will-
like the headache powder?
No, like, wasn't there a comic book a long time called BC? And it was like about like cavemen or something?
Yeah.
Something like
Yeah.
that. All right,
It was a
moving on.
Sunday comic.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sunday.
Whatever, doesn't matter. I haven't read a comic in a newspaper in a long time. But yes, so 2,500 years old. So we're talking about essentially older than part of the Bible, but newer than the other part of the Bible.
Basically,
Regardless,
this dude
it doesn't
exists
matter.
solely in like those cool old Japanese like picture drawings
Okay.
and statues.
Correct.
And
So
text.
this gentleman, his name is, I have heard it pronounced so many different ways. I'm going to call him, actually we're going to call him Sun Tzu.
Sun Tzu.
I've heard it Sinzi, Sunzi, Shinzi.
Sunzi. Yeah.
So Sun Tzu, from what this is not a podcast where we go into historical figures and this is their story and this is how they grew up.
No.
I'm going to give you the 30-second variation of what I found out. He was a high up general or some variation thereof in
Military strategist.
military strategist in, I believe, China, and he pitched some of his ideas to whoever the ruler was of China. And don't send us angry emails about me not knowing who that is, because it doesn't matter, because that's not what we're talking about. But he pitched like, hey, I can change military strategy, and these are my ideas. So allegedly, at this point in time, the leader said, form an army of courtesans, which maybe the translation's off, but I believe that's prostitutes. So he had to form an army of prostitutes, teach them what his strategy was, and have a well-oiled machine of this unit of prostitutes. Now, I mean, this is a time where women did not even fight in any military in the entire world. So they gave him prostitutes, and he was supposed to, whatever, it doesn't matter. Apparently, on his first try, it didn't work so well. So he took whoever this ruler guy who was making all the rules, took his favorite courtesan, he killed her in front of everybody else, and then all of them lined up real quick, and they did everything greatly, perfectly, and then everybody's like, oh my God, he's a genius. I don't know if any of this is true, and from what I've read, I don't even know if he was a real person. And you know what? None of that matters, because this text is amazing, and it is, I think it's applicable to not only warfare, but to life, to business, to sales, to pretty much anything you do. And that is what we're going to talk about today. Do you have some general thoughts on this text, Shannon, since I haven't talked to you about your thoughts on...
No, I feel a little behind now that you guys already chatted about it, but...
No, that's just... that what I just shared is not... I had to look that up last night in my drunken retardation.
Your 2-hour chat was just to decide to read this.
No.
No, we had read it.
I sent you this like 3 days before that.
Yeah.
The 2 hour, I don't even know what the 2 hour chat was.
I don't know. I guess it wasn't about this.
No. It was about everything. We solved the world's problems. We talked about esoteric stuff. We formed a new religion. We started a new cult. We made up
new words.
Actually, we made up new words today when we were both sober, and we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna roll that out in another episode.
Okay. Well, as I was reading it, I was actually thinking about, like, how would you actually apply this in your life? I mean, as long as my life goes somewhat close to how I imagine it, I'm not going to be in a war. I'm not going to be a general. I think I'm a little late for that. But, how can you take what he highlights in here and actually apply it to life? And have you guys heard about, like, infinite versus finite game?
No,
I have not.
Well,
Explain it.
Is that like Infinity War?
Well, no.
Do I get an Infinity Gauntlet?
Snap. No. So finite game would be, think of like a football game. There are
a start and end.
Clear. There's a start. There's an end. I mean, finite, the word is kind of a giveaway, but there are known rules. There is one thing that you do to lead to a winner and a loser, and there is a winner and a loser. If you think about like a world war or business, there are infinite games. So there's no one act. There's no one battle that says, yes, I have won this war. You have battle after battle, and it's all about resources. And whoever can keep going, whether it's money or people or both, if you have resources, you can continue playing in the infinite game.
So the finite game would be kind of like it's kind of like the whole thing, like the battle versus the war.
Well, finite game would be individual battles for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and it's interesting because then you apply it to business, and you're like, business is an infinite game.
But
if you
every
have
sale
one
or every
successful,
proposal or every meeting
sales,
or every training,
there's deals that
you
are
can
made.
look at it that way. Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, that's part. That's a component.
Project Reclamation. We like to break big things into little things.
Yes, like goals.
Yes.
Yeah, so
change the world, make your bed.
Part of it, and it's there's a TED Talk we should watch and talk about that.
If you haven't
about
watched
goals.
the full 19+ minute version of I always say General Admiral McRaven's speech, the guy's a freaking phenomenal guy.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, we'll talk about that in another episode. We'll give we're going to give Admiral McRaven his own.
Well,
podcast
and let me get this idea
you guys
out.
talk about him a lot.
Starting, you just talked about finite versus infinite, and we are discussing how you could possibly, apply the art of war to your life. Obviously, your life being quote unquote an infinite game, because I mean there's obviously a beginning and an end, but you're there's so many different ways you can go. And maybe like every day is kind of like a finite game, because that's something that you can actually see. You don't know when you're going to die. You know when you were born. You don't know when you're going to die. So, you
might have finite games within.
I think you have the ability to plan how you go about the finite things.
Yeah, for
but
sure.
I think that you can have the thought process that you use to go about that strategy could be having the end of that sort of finite thing, like the end of that day in mind versus having how does this affect my entire life or the infinite game in mind.
Yeah, for sure.
Does it have to be an or though?
No, not necessarily.
I think it should be an and.
Well, I think I don't think it's mutually exclusive. I think they can be an and, but I think that there's definitely some, and I'm not going to go into it, but I think that there's definitely some scenarios where planning for one day to go well may or may not be what's good for the long run. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Or like if I'm a salesperson, which I am, if I'm gonna close this sale in a way where I kind of dupe my customer and screw them over,
Yeah.
that's great for that sale. But guess what? If it's a recurring business where I have to sell to that customer again and again and again, that's certainly not going to help me in the long run.
So then what if we
comes
said
down
don't-
to the, you can shear a sheep many times, but you can kill them once.
Yeah.
Good point.
Don't focus on the finite game at the expense of the infinite game. Make sure it's
Exactly.
supporting the infinite
Right.
game.
And I would say, plan, and I think this goes along with we'll go into this, but this goes along with Sun Tzu's teachings or preachings, is that he approaches every battle as what is best for the infinite, for the war, for the infinite game. So I don't really know how to dig into this, so we're just going to go section by section. My ears have been killing me lately. Like my nose hasn't been super clogged, my ears have been super clogged. It's weird. It's weird. What is it, the weather? Who knows?
Chemtrails.
You know what's weird? Dude, there's been like a huge stomach flu outbreak in Southern California, apparently.
Chemtrails.
Maybe. I don't know.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it sounds weird, but do we have any evidence that chemtrails aren't real? No.
Exactly. Prove me wrong, chemtrails.
Dude, it's funny because I was having my team watch because none of them have seen Thank You for Smoking, and I was like, this is the greatest sales movie ever. And I think it's a great sales movie because it's not sales in your traditional sales sense. Like,
No, it's
he's a
the
lobbyist.
fine art of sale.
He's a lobbyist, so he's not. So anyways, we were talking about this earlier, but he's talking to his son and trying to explain to his son what he does, and his son's probably what, 10, 12, something like that, JB?
Yeah.
Right? And he's like, okay. He's like, all right, kid. So let's say we're arguing about which ice cream flavor is best, and you say chocolate, and I say vanilla, and this kid's like, well, chocolate. Chocolate's all I need. I don't need anything but chocolate. And he says, well, you know what? I believe in freedom, and I think I need to go beyond chocolate, and I need to have the freedom to choose vanilla, and you know what? Beyond that, I need the freedom to choose other flavors. And his kid's like, well, you didn't really prove that vanilla is better. He goes, I know, but I proved that chocolate isn't. He goes, but you didn't really get me to believe what you said. He goes, I'm not after you. I'm after all of them. And he pointed to all the people at wherever they are. And all he had to do was prove that the other argument was wrong. He didn't have to prove his was right.
Which just
And
goes
that's kind
to
of
show
sales.
that
Like, you just
politics,
get people to
all
think.
politics is sales.
Everything's sales, dude.
Everything is sales. That's why I shop at Kohls, because everything's always on sale.
It actually is. Except that I always let my Kohls cash expire.
Oh, sinner! Don't let hear you say that.
I've never been at
No,
Kohl's.
she'd kill me. I should just mail it to her when I
All
get
right.
it.
So, Shannon has her. Do you have water? Shannon's got water.
I do.
All right. Tim has. I
have water and Sudafed.
Canadian whiskey. JB has. What does JB have?
I'm drinking water this evening.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Cheers.
I feel like an alcoholic.
That's all right. Believe me,
Oh, last night you drank enough for a few nights, but so did I.
For sure.
Here I am drinking again. Whatever. Anyways. So, all right. So he puts us into categories. I'm going to go ahead and give a shout out to Jocko Willink. Jocko on Jocko Podcast. We talk about him all the time. He has a really cool episode about Sun Tzu. What I will say about Jocko is he is a Navy SEAL. What was he? He was a battalion. He led a battalion. I'm spacing on what his actual title
battalion
was.
commander. I mean, is that
Commander.
is that even a
Well, I'm
thing?
just saying like his actual whatever. Jocko, I'm sorry, but you're amazing. He's written a book with one of his buddies. Apparently, they just finished their second book, and Jocko has a couple books. He had this first book that he wrote with Leif Babin, who's also awesome. Leif, shout out to you. Was called Extreme Ownership: How Navy SEALs Lead and Win. And the two of them, after they left the Navy SEALs, they started a consulting company, and they work with businesses, and they take their leadership principles they learned on the battlefield and apply it to businesses. And their approach and common sense attitude to leadership is amazing. And I was telling JB last night, I have read over 100 management books, and collectively, I can't remember one thing I learned from any of them. I read that one book, and I would say 80% of anything that I've tweaked or changed or learned has come from that book. And so if you're a manager or a leader or someone just interested in leadership, period, read the book Extreme Ownership, because it's so simple and so awesome. And I think simplicity and awesomeness is something that we really appreciate on this podcast. And that's why we love this text by Sun Tzu that was written 2,500 years ago. Another person I want to give a shout out to is Echo Charles, because Echo is Jocko's partner on the Jocko podcast, and Echo produces it. And Echo, every time I tweet at Echo, he tweets me right back.
Oh,
awesome
cool.
dude. And he works out at Victory MMA. And I think that's where they actually record the podcast. So Echo, you're the shit. You're awesome. I love the dichotomy that you bring to Jocko's super seriousness, because Jocko, you're awesome, but you're intimidating sometimes. I'm not going to lie. And Echo, it's funny when you giggle when Jocko's being super serious, and Echo just kind of giggles about something and then reads it like a listener question. But Echo, you're awesome, and I'm guessing all of the quality of that podcast is to your it's all you. So that the podcast is ridiculously produced, and not only is the podcast ridiculously produced, but there is a little ridiculously.
There you go.
Hey, that's
So
like a
Echo
word
Charles
that we just made up.
I just like to make up words. So Echo, shout out to you because the Jocko podcast is ridiculously produced in a good way. It's very impressive. And not only is it the podcast produced well, but he takes little snippets and adds little inspirational music and shit and puts it on YouTube. And it's a very high quality. So Echo, you're awesome. So here we're gonna jump into this. So we're gonna break it into sections and just kind of chat and pull out quotes that we think are cool. Now, literally, this is a 38-page book. And it's broken. It's basically written as bullet points.
It's basically the only thing that will keep my attention.
It's so
38
freaking
pages
simple. So freaking
and
simple.
simple.
And it's written in bullet points. There's no paragraphs, no nothing.
Yeah.
It's like bullet point, bullet point, bullet point. It's like written like a freaking PowerPoint presentation. And the simplicity that he realized that would be powerful to people 2,500 years ago, it boggles my mind. Because there has been so many war texts and stuff written till today. I don't know all the details, but I was reading that as far as Western warfare goes, I believe up until like somewhere in probably the 1800s. I may be wrong on that, but there was some German text that had been written, and it was like 600 or 800 pages, and it was very vague, and it kind of was written in a way that you could pretty much prove. It was so vague you kind of make it prove any point, one way or the other. And now everyone's kind of going back to this book. There's like, oh wait, hey, look, this was written so long ago. So the first section is called Laying Plans. JB, what's your first takeaway from this one?
Well, I mean, obviously, it's like you said, simple. The first line of the book is Sun Tzu said, which I automatically thought of Confucius say, and then I thought of a bunch of dirty jokes. But
Oh God.
He who go through airport turnstile sideways is going to
Bangkok, exactly. The art of war is of virtual importance to the state. Vital. Not virtual, vital.
Yes.
I may be slightly, yeah.
That's okay. Yeah. All right.
What's up?
So I was just going to dovetail off that. Is governed. He basically talks about. So essentially, my take on this before we go into the details is he talks about assessing the entirety of the situation you're about to jump into and figuring out what's what before you jump into anything. Anyways, forget what I was talking about. But
no, you were saying that. The main laying plans is
planning.
Understanding and doing your homework basically on yourself and your enemy.
Correct. And I'm jumping way ahead, but one of my favorite things is he who knows himself and his enemy will win every battle. He who knows himself but not his enemy will lose every battle that he wins. So essentially you're going to win half the battles. Mm-hmm. And he who knows neither himself nor his enemy will lose every battle. So basically the dude or the chick that goes in half cocked and just hopes they're going to win without doing any research and knowing any of the lays of the land or anything, you're just going to lose every time.
Well, and I think that's really important if we're talking about life, whether it's, personal relationships or work. It's not just like doing your research, but you have to know yourself. You have to know your strengths. You have to know your weaknesses. You have to know what you're going in with. Like, what tools are you going in with?
Well,
it's like when you go in for an interview, like, what do you bring to the table? You need to be able to answer that question.
Exactly. And starting off with that, knowing your value, and what, like you said, what you bring to the table. What can I add to this situation? And I think a lot of people go into that blindly and maybe don't add a ton to the situation, but proceed anyways.
Right. Or if you may have a lot of things you could add to that situation, but if you don't know what those are and you haven't done your research on I think we're kind of talking about a job interview. So let's go with that anecdote. And there's probably things that the company could use. And if you don't find the alignment of your strengths that happen to add to that company where they may have needs or where they may have strengths that you'd like to add to, then you're not going to be able to focus on that. And so you may end up talking about the completely wrong thing because you didn't even do your research.
Yeah.
So this book is essentially written about warfare. So everything we're going to talk about and everything in this book can be taken metaphorically, but that's kind of the point. So basically the book starts off by the art of war is governed by 5 constant factors, and we'll go into our versions of the meaning of these 5 factors. So first, the moral law. The moral law causes people to be in complete accord with their ruler. So essentially, moral law in this sense talks about basically the values of the commander of the army. Right, the values of the commander of the army. So that could be the values of, if you're just talking about yourself, the values of yourself. Or if you have a team or a group of friends that try to do something, what are your values with in relative to whatever we're trying to do. Yeah. And the second one is heaven. And heaven signifies night and day, cold and heat, times and seasons. So essentially heaven is the lay of the land. Like, is it cold outside? Is it hot outside? So
I loved that one. I read it and I was like, heaven. And then I read the description. And I mean, you guys are probably more knowledgeable about this than I am, but I can imagine there are plenty of battles that were won because they took advantage of the fact that, like, it was snowing. Or
Absolutely.
Think about how many attacks happen at night. Like, it's not just, the next one is Earth. And it talks about, like, the actual distance.
I'm fairly certain the Russians have won lots of battles based on horrible
they're
weather
good in the
because
snow.
they're really used to horrible weather. Yeah.
Well, it's just everything that meets with the earth.
It's basically everything that nature is in control of that has an effect on what you are about to do. So
and
if we're
it's really
talking
like
about
changing,
right, but if we're talking about waging war or going into a battle, it is literally the weather, the temperature, the land, and
like
all that.
If it's raining,
seasons.
and you might need to leave a half an hour early for that.
Right.
But
yeah, I think if we're drawing this into what it means to us, I think it's all those kind of weather-ish, nature-ish factors that may have an effect on what we're trying to do, but that we have zero control over. So you have to plan accordingly. So if you're going to take a girl or a guy on some fancy date, and if there's an outdoor component to this date, you might want to bring an umbrella if the weather is going to.
That would be pretty
rainy.
funny to think of a date as an act of war.
I know.
But the beauty of this is that
I
it's
know, I'm
planning
joking.
equals success.
Yeah.
And you could really draw that into anything, including a date.
Yeah.
Well, no, and it's as you'll see later on, like you don't go into anything that is there's if you're trying to win a battle, you don't even go into it unless you know you're going to win.
If you're at a bar and you walk up and say some line to a girl, you're going to be successful if you've already kind of taken other things into everything into sort of consideration. You come up with a line that is customized to win over this girl on this day at this place. However, if you just have some generic, copy and paste line and you just hope it's going to work, you're probably going to fail more than you're going to succeed. I'm just getting weird looks from you guys.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You can read JB's weird looks.
You can't see my weird looks.
Oh, I can.
I'm giving you weird looks
your
because
weird looks.
you can't. I mean, you can plan and you can ascertain what.
Okay, Shannon, as a girl, are you not more appreciative when you were single of a guy who comes up and says something to you
the dark
that
ages.
actually takes into consideration where you are, something about you that he could see without being creepy and like researching you?
Yes. Okay, that's what you're talking
That's
about.
what I'm
I was
talking
going to
about.
say you can't really plan that well.
There is different levels of research you can do on different things. Now,
Yeah.
obviously, without being super creepy, there's not much I can know from seeing you 5 minutes ago at a bar.
Yeah.
Except that maybe you're wearing a shirt that is some sort of band, and maybe the weather's rainy outside, and maybe you have a hat on that's San Diego State Aztecs or whatever. From those, I can come up with something that says something about, hey, I paid attention to you, versus something that's like, hey, I said this line to 15 girls earlier tonight and it didn't work the last 15 times, but I'm really hoping it works.
Lucky
on
number 16.
Yeah. So that's all I'm saying.
Well, and more to that point, maybe not even approaching a girl in a bar because you know that the odds of you actually having all of those, pieces of information aligned won't yield the proper results. So maybe in the true sense of fashion, you're in a bar, but you're not engaging because you know that the likelihood of you winning is not as good as what you were thinking.
Slim to none.
Hitting on a girl at a bar is more like the general in this book that wages a war hoping he's going to win based on his strengths, but usually ends up losing more than he wins.
Exactly.
So then after heaven, we have earth. Earth comprises distance, great and small, danger and security, open ground, narrow passes, and the chances of life and death. So that is all of the other things you can't control beyond the weather, the seasons, and all that. Thoughts from you two on this one? I feel like they're kind of just connected to me.
You done good.
Silence. Okay. And then the last one is commander. And I think that can be extrapolated into a bunch of different things. Obviously, in the war sense, it is quite literally the commander. At your job, it's the boss. Maybe you're the boss. Maybe you are the commander, and then you have to read this with a certain sort of prism. Or maybe if it's just your life, then maybe you are the commander as well, and you're commanding whatever decisions you're making for your life.
There's one more.
There is one more?
Mm-hmm. Method and discipline.
Method and discipline are to be understood the marshaling of an army in its proper subdivisions. So this is essentially organizing your people. So if you have a team, if we're talking about work, or you're actually leading a group of people in an army, that one's very, very self-explanatory. But it's like the graduation of rank among officers. It's essentially taking a group of people that are in your command or in command of some group that you're in, and breaking them into smaller groups and maintaining the method and discipline. So essentially the strategy and making sure that we're all marching in the right direction. So that could be you and, could be me and JB starting this podcast, and Steve and, deciding that we want to write a book and what is our plan. Shannon, it could be something that you're about to give an example of. Nothing?
No.
Method and discipline? JB, anyone? I don't think people wanted to hear me read shit.
I blacked out here.
All right.
I know. Sorry, I was reading ahead.
So basically, these are the 5 things that are going to exist regardless of anything else. And these are the things that are always going to be around no matter what the battle is that we're fighting. Whether it's hitting on a girl at a bar, or not hitting on a girl at a bar, or actually fighting a battle, or JB blacking out. These are the 5 things that you always have to take into consideration. And essentially, he says, he who takes into consideration these things and analyzes and plans around these things, essentially your constants around you, is going to be more successful than someone who doesn't. I think this text, in its simplicity, speaks to so many different things if you have an open mind, and that's why I love it. Because it's simple, but it's also, it can be used and understood in so many different ways. So we're going to leave you with that. This is the end of part whatever. So guys, I think that's it for now. We're going to close that out. We're not quite done with this lovely text, but hopefully we are keeping your attention, and hopefully you see the value in this text as much as we do. 2,500 years, and I feel like there's nothing better. It's amazing. But hey, it is what it is. Some things are timeless.
And that's the way the cookie crumbles.
Wow.
Isn't that what he said in
Bruce Almighty?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's the way the cookie crumbles.
And that's the way the cookie crumbles. What was Cronkite's actual one? Was it then that's the way it was? Or
Yeah.
That's the way it is. That's the way it
That's
is.
the way it is.
And that's the rest of the story. Was that Paul Harvey? So thank you, everybody. Hopefully you're enjoying
Thank you.
this multi-parter. And until next time, you hear my voice in your ear, and Shannon and JB. So, JB.
Be good.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
So what I believe you were trying to say is thank you.